I'm coming in loud and clear. Might hear me on the radio.
Hey guys, it's Eric here at Farpoint Farms, back at Farpoint Farms. This is part 3, the final part. This is the haul. This is the stuff that I picked up over the 2 days that I was in Dayton. And you'll see there's some cool stuff in here. I wouldn't say there's anything that's just like, wow. But there's some really neat stuff, things that were on my bucket list item. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come around front. We'll talk about some of it. But before I do that, I guess I'll show some of the stuff that I can't put up there. $5. I got a new in the box aesthetic aesthetic through glass CB radio antenna. That was kind of a cool find. I think I talked about this in my haul video there back in the part 2, but a satellite tracker. This is for C-band satellites. These are still quite useful. Really, the fact that it came with the remote and everything was kind of a cool bonus. This was an unexpected haul. This was $30 for a pack of MREs, a case of MREs. And the last thing hidden behind here is a nice Sony 4-head VCR. My VCR died. I still have some tapes that I use, so I went ahead and picked one of those up. And the very last little piece here is I did pick up some speakers, old computer speakers for $2. Those always come in handy. They are amplified, so it helps. You can use it for radio and stuff. Let me come around front and we'll talk about the rest of this collection. All right, in no particular order here, this was kind of cool. It's a Galaxy single sideband CB. It is 40 channels. It is still, when it was under the Courier brand, Fan and Courier. So that's an oldie, but it was new in the box and it came with an aesthetic mic, which was also nice. Cobra 29, Pace 123A. I could have sworn this was the radio used in the Smokey and the Bandit movies, but apparently I was mistaken on that. Nice Sears 40 channel sidebander here. No mic for that, but those, I've had a few of those over the years. They actually talk really well. Even though they're not an LED display, they're a good sideband radio to play with. And above it, I don't know what model this is, but it's a Uniden 40 channel I've never seen before, so I had to pick that up. A couple of junk radios are mixed in here, things that were just for parts, but I figured I'd play with. A lot of times, clean them up, they still work. Here's a Johnson Messenger 23 channel. There's a Maxton MBC 30. I've had one of those before. Don't know if that one works. Cobra 19 Plus. I haven't had much luck with those. They tend not to work at this era. But I do have a second one that I've been hanging on to for years. So maybe between the two, I can kind of create one that works. Nice Royce here, 23 channel CB. I've owned one of those too before. Pretty good. Cobra 21 LTD. A Messenger Courier 23 channel there. Don't think that one works, but it was kind of cool because it had like a nice chrome fascia on it. It was pretty cool. And then this is a 11 meter amp, 225 watts, I believe. Now I don't play with these things, but this has good resale value. And I guess before I go on, I do want to talk about that with y'all. So I go to these Hamfests to enjoy myself, to have a good time. But I'm not a rich man by any means. A lot of the YouTubers you see that do professional radio reviews and are big into radio in general, those people have money to play with. You know, they have nice campers they show up in these events in. They spend a couple nights, they cook out, they have a couple beers, they enjoy themselves. I can't afford to do any of that. I literally slept in my van, and even the $110 I spent on gas was quite a bit of money to shell out. So for me, when I go to these things and I pick up all this stuff, I get to share all this equipment with you. I get to keep a few cool items for myself, like, you know, bucket list items. And then a lot of this stuff I pass on to other people. I either sell it on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or whatnot. So if you ever see me purchasing all this stuff or showing this stuff off, understand that I'm not a reseller in the sense that I'm going to these things to make a profit. I'm going to these things to break even. Does that make sense? So by sharing this stuff with you, I have content for the channel that's 100% homegrown, and then I also get to recoup my expenses for the trip. So I'm in this trip for about $275 with everything, with tolls and all the rest, and food, and spending the night at a parking lot in the van, and missing a day of work. So that's what I'm in it for, and that's what I'm trying to recoup out of this. Of course, I spent a good amount of money. There's probably $300 worth of stuff here, maybe $250. We'll see. I'll have to go through all my calculations. I write all this stuff down when I buy it. Anyway, let's get back to this. So over here, another vintage 40 channel. I can't remember what brand that is. I think it's Realistic, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But it's old enough. It still has the CB call sign or call in the letters. Colt 222. Never seen one of those. I think it's a 40 channel, but might be one of those parts radios. This one's kind of buried in the mix, but it's a nice Royce 40 channel. That one's good. Tram, 23 channel here. That's a nice one as well. And this is a 23 channel, but it's actually a 40 channel because it has this on the bottom here. It's channel select. So I thought that was cool that somebody added that in there. I thought that was just pretty neat. This little piece up here is more important than I thought. It was kind of something I was about to spend 30 bucks on Amazon for or eBay. It is a way to convert your VHS tapes over to digital files, computer files. And it's still supported. I actually Googled the brand because I was like, what is this thing? It even has drivers for Windows 11. So I'll be able to transfer stuff over with that VCR that I showed you, because it is getting harder and harder to find working VCRs, and I hope that one works. This was my bucket list item, I guess, for the whole trip here. Radio Shack DX440. It's the last realistic that I did not own. I've had all of them. I had the 100, the 160, the 302, the 394, which is my main radio inside the house for listening to. And now I have this one. So I picked that up, came with the manual. That was a good deal. Below it here, a nice TRC 441 40 channel CB radio. This actually shares the same chassis with the DX100 shortwave radio. Below it, this was kind of one of those I wonder moments, and I went ahead and did it. I don't know if I'll regret it. I bought this MFJ packet radio converter box here. It came with all the manuals and everything, and the power and all the rest. It wasn't very expensive, but I love BBSs, and I thought maybe I could bring something like that back to life. Whether I'll ever get around to it or whether this is still something that people use, I don't know. But it was one of those spur of the moment things, and since it was in such good condition, I just kind of had to have it. Down here, probably the nicest radio I picked up. Of course, I haven't checked to see if it works. It is missing one button here for the noise blanker, but it is a President Washington. I have a soft spot in my heart for the President Washington. My first base station was a President Washington, like actual plug-in base station. Had that for years, and it finally gave up on me. This is an oldie here. I doubt it still works, but it was a very inexpensive. I think it was $2. Realistic Navajo Pro. It does have the clock, and I love it. It does have the on-air modulation. This here is, for me, it's a Uniden Bearcat BC 895 XLT. It is a little bit of an upgrade from the Radio Shack 2000 Pro I have, because it does do trunk tracking. And so I'm going to play with that. Hopefully that works. No manual for that, but I bet I can find something online with that. Above it, a Cobra 32 XLR. So I've had this guy who, over like the last 5 years, has repeatedly asked me to make a video on that particular radio, and I don't have one. So we're kind of at a stalemate, I guess you'd say. Well, I've got one now, and that's really nice. This was a nice find, brand new in the box. Paid $15 for it. Midland 1000Z, first radio I ever put into my wife's car, or maybe it was a 1001. Yeah, 1001Z. Basic radio, but in nice shape, nice enough to pick it up. Above it, a Midland 77116, which I think is also a pretty nice little radio there. It is, you know, and of course a lot of these things I'm going to make up videos on. That over there, that Bogan mic is going to be for the radio station, not for CB stuff. It has a phono jack on it, and 4 blank tapes to round out the collection. So most, not all, but most of these you will see on the channel as time passes us by. We're going to be able to go in here and do reviews of all these things and check them out and play with them. So I hope you'll stick around for that. Also, before I head on out of here, I want to thank the folks over at Dayton Hamfest. They apparently thought that I was a big enough cheese to give me a media press pass this time around, and that was an honor. To be able to get in a little early, to be able to talk with vendors and people and kind of see the place before the crowds got in there and got crazy was nice. The only item, I think I purchased 2 items before the bell rang, and I didn't really realize it until afterwards, and I felt like that was maybe not a nice thing to do. It wasn't fair, if you ask me. But I didn't realize that it was still a few minutes before 9 o'clock when I purchased, and I can't remember which one it was. I think it was this. Yeah, I'm positive it was this, actually. I bought it because I just got done filming some stuff on the inside. I walked out. It was sitting there on the booth, and I was like, oh, cool. And I guess I had thought enough time had passed that the gates were open. They weren't. So if anyone was really interested in a TRC 441, I apologize because that wasn't fair. But for the rest of it, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed being able to hang out with some of the other YouTubers there. I bumped into quite a few pretty cool ones, and a couple that, you know, I just saw, but I wasn't going to bother. I don't really follow much of the ham radio YouTube channels, although I do love a few. Unfortunately, a lot of those guys weren't able to make it this year, but it was also really, really cool to talk to so many fans. People, hey, I know you, and they'd run over there and talk and take pictures. And, you know, I wanted to get more of that on tape to share with you, but you know how it is. People don't like to hear their own voice, or they don't want to see themselves on TV. And I can totally respect that. So a lot of cool private conversations with fans of the channel, and I really enjoyed that. One of them was giving me a tip where to go to get the MREs, because he was asking me what kind of stuff I was into, and I told him, you know, a very odd list, and that happened to be on it. So that's my adventure. Dayton was great. Clearly, if I'm still breathing next year, I will do it all over again. The rain, Friday's rain was kind of interesting. It reminded me a bit of the Army in the sense that, you know, nobody likes to get wet, but once you're in it and you accepted your fate, didn't dampen my enthusiasm for the day at all. And it did dry up Friday, you know, about lunchtime, 11:30, 12 o'clock. I had to leave about, you know, 3. I was so exhausted. And then, you know, Saturday I stayed until about 2, and then I had to drive home, and man, it was a late night. The video you guys watched Saturday morning there, I edited that at 12:45 at night when I got home. So that was quite a process to get that out. I guess that'll do it, my friends. Dayton Hamfest. You ought to check it out if you've never been. It's worth the voyage. I can also tell you, if you want to shoot me a message privately, a good place to park a car overnight where you won't be harassed by police, and you can spend the night in the back of your car if you are poor like me. Till next time, my friends, take care.